Hello, everybody. Welcome to week two. So I just wanted to go over a few things today. And now that we've gotten our first assignment in, your first discussion posting, and again, as you've seen, the gone over the syllabus and watched our first video, this class in 6 weeks is as straightforward as they come. You're going to have 5 discussion board postings that I have outlined here. One policy paper, which I will be posting very shortly, but these are the general instructions, and you also have the guidelines posted up on our regular course page. And the 3 exams. Your first exam will be coming up this weekend. They are all 50 points, all multiple choice, all derived from the textbook chapters. So we have our assigned textbook, which I provided the PDF for you. And all the questions are constructed from there, directly from the publisher. You also have access to the publisher PowerPoints that I posted up for you. So you have all the resources you need compiled on this one. Pretty comprehensive and succinct 6-week course into an introduction into American government. One note on the exams first. So I want to cover a couple things here. On all the exams, you cannot pause the exams once you begin. So I've already provided for you a study guide. These are concepts, names, moments from our first 2 chapters that the questions are constructed around. So in preparing for the exam, be sure that you have studied, you have done the reading, because it will be a timed exam. You will have approximately about 60 minutes for 50 questions. That is more than ample time for these first 2 chapters. But I just wanted to be very clear that you are not to begin the exam and think that you can pause the exam in between and come back to it. Once you start, the system automatically begins the countdown. So be sure that you're ready to sit down, that you have strong Wi-Fi, and that you're ready to go. Again, we are on a very compressed timeline. If you have any issues beyond the Wi-Fi, provided some resources there for you. Be sure you contact Canvas if you're having issues with them. Okay, secondly, on our policy paper, that will be posted up, and it'll be surrounding a particular problem, and I'll also be giving you some more guidance on that. But just to give you sort of the conceptual, for you to begin conceptualizing what it will entail, it will be a minimum of 1,250 words, 4 to 5 pages, and as I mentioned, A-level papers will go beyond this word limit. You will have to do research. Again, everything we're doing in here is constructed around analysis, and I will talk about that a little bit right now when I move on to our discussion postings. But you will be providing academic research, right? As college students, we engage the research by political scientists, by social scientists, by historians, by sociologists, psychologists, from the public health, to really make sense of what those people or institutions in power are doing. So that's what this is going to entail for you to do some research. You will have access to our library databases, and I'll talk more about that as we get there. And the exams, I've already mentioned, they are all straightforward, all alike. They are constructed for you to succeed, as is this course. I try to construct the best path, most clear, concise path for you to be successful in this course and also have a takeaway, particularly in this moment, as I mentioned in our first introductory video. So now to our discussion postings. So I've just responded to all of your discussion postings, so thank you. I just wanted to welcome you all again to the class. And once what I mentioned, from here on out, we're going to begin responding to each other, at least to another student, another posting. And remember just the guidelines, be very respectful. Any disagreements should be grounded in academic research, right? That is the key. We all have diverse sets of views, values, why we believe what we believe. Let's examine that. Right? That's what being in college is all about. It's about examining things that were given to us all. Power, which is politics, that system, the way we are socialized into this world, and our ideas that we didn't choose for ourselves, right? This is what we call the common sense that exists out there in society that really shapes the way our ideological likings or dislikings, our partisanship. Uh, we'll talk more about the party structure, not so democratic in the United States, but how we come to believe what we believe is a set of conditions, of values that were given to us, either forcefully, maybe from our parents, maybe from our church, but all universally, we went into an education system that reproduced a set of values that grounded from this moment that we begin to interrogate the nation. And this is why the textbook that we are using really centralizes something that we really don't talk about ever. And if we're not going to talk about it in this moment, then I guess we will never confront the brutal reality of egalitarianism, of chattel slavery, of the state violence that is occurring from 1619 and to the present. And so these are the conditions that we're a product of a lot of the debates that were hashed out that you're reading from these two chapters. Where did those ideas come from? These are ideas that came from particular men, from their minds, and they produced and created some institutions that miraculously are still here. And those are the great advances when we study American politics and society, we envision how these ideas set in motion what is today. Over 315 million people are still bound by that Constitution. But this concept of, so when we're responding in our discussion postings, push yourself to think from the text. What are the historical facts, the debates, the concepts that the textbook gives us? And I give you these supplementary readings that help us make sense of our moment. And I'm also giving you a perspective not from people in power, right? Because we know that. Again, if you want to understand just the political world, you don't need to come to a college course, right? You can go online and in 30 minutes, you got the basic ABCs of American government, or you can turn on the cable news network. You don't want to do that. That's another thing. Normally in class, I always tell students, first thing we do if we're going to learn, we have to unlearn, we have to shut off all the noise around us. There is so much noise, and everybody thinks that their opinion is valuable. And the truth, once we begin to uncover those opinions, they're not, right? That's part of the problem that we're in, because everybody, most in society, believe that it's okay to, this is my belief system, that's your belief system, let's agree to disagree. No, that takes us nowhere, right? As college students, as academics, what we're engaged in is trying to uncover, to try to think beyond the superficiality of explanations that we get on TV, on social media. We have to engage in the work. We are somewhat as like archaeologists. We need to dig and get our hands dirty in order to unearth something that is matter, something that is true, right? So this is an approach. It's not for everybody, as I mentioned. It makes people uncomfortable. That's what learning is all about. When we discuss the concept of race, and for folks who never have experienced it, it makes them uneasy. Like, what are you talking about? Especially if we've gotten a set of values that are set upon us that go counter to that. But this is one issue that we're not only centralizing in this class, which I'm proud to do and give you that advantage over others that you're getting from this introductory course to American government. And it's not because of me, but it's because of the material. This is the work that we've been doing, but it's very apparent now, right? If people out in society aren't going to be willing to engage this in this moment, then we have to come to the conclusion that they never will. Right? Society's problems will still sit with us. So I've just given you this overview of how we're approaching our discussion postings, but more so how we're approaching the entire course is through this critical analytic frame. I'm giving you voices that have been covered over by the powerful. So you will not be hearing from the president, from Congress people. You will not be hearing from police commissioners, police chiefs. You will be hearing from those who have borne the brunt of the powerful for so long. Right? So this is why you're going to get threads from students like yourselves. Your peers are making history in this moment. Organizations, people on the grassroots level who are really invoking their the political scientist James C. Scott calls the weapons of the weak, where they come together collectively and really move against the powerful, much like that revolutionary moment in the United States where those immigrants from England came here and built a revolutionary force and countered and took on the most powerful empire that existed in that moment, the British Empire. Now you have people from within taking on the most powerful empire that has existed in human history from within. And how is that being contested? And that's what that is politics. That is the biggest form of democratic participation. Voting, many argue, actually just solidify the status quo. Well, we have a two-party system, and there's not much difference within the two parties, right? And I will expand on that a little bit more. So many would argue, many political scientists and activists on the ground will say that voting is a way that solidifies a system of inegalitarianism that continues today. Right? That's that concept that we get. So as we're moving forward, the content, I hope, pushes you to evaluate not only the moment, but the history, right? To acknowledge, even if you haven't experienced this history, this is something that you don't learn in school. And K through 12 does a good job of keeping a lot of this information from us, right? And this is why there have been movements and rebellions geared towards expanding the epistemological perspectives of non-white peoples in this country, whether Native American studies, African American studies, movements towards ethnic studies that began here in the Bay Area in the 1960s and are still being contested over. So there is a lot in our political world, and I just wanted to jump in. We're in week 2, but you're developing a good grounding, not only in the text and the provocative pieces of, on abolition, on centering the ideas of, the deepening racialization of American politics, Ibram X. Kendi's The American Nightmare. These are perspectives that have been occluded, covered over, but they are there. We're archaeologists, again, uncovering them and making sense of them. And abolition was tough, even under slavery, when people, and what this abolitionist moment is taking from, it's learning from that moment when, in the antebellum period, prior to the Civil War, where many were trying to just say, yeah, well, slavery, let's just reform it, right? And there were those calls. We have to keep that system of chattel slavery intact. We could be nicer to the slaves. We could just reform it and have certain conditions, maybe feed them better. Those were debates on the ground. But then you had others, abolitionists, said, no, this whole system is rotten to the core. And we need to remove it, to abolish it, to destroy it, and build a new society. And in this present moment, this is what prison abolitionists have been doing for forever. Once you're going to be watching that documentary 13th, you will see the rise of mass incarceration and how that was built on the needs of capitalism, namely racial capitalism, which is a concept that we will be talking a little bit more about. And I'm just here introducing some of these concepts, and so you can pursue these on your own terms, but hopefully engage with each other, right? And that's why we're here collectively. That's why we believe in the power of education, is to how do we transform our society where maybe all lives matter. And this is a piece by that I resurrected that I used to teach. I thought we were over this back in this period 4 or 5 years ago, when the philosophers George Yancey and Judith Butler take on this question. So you got to interrogate that, and many of you made sense of that because it's very related to our moment. So really challenge yourselves, push yourselves, contact me with any questions, and I'll be jumping back in to cover any questions. But first of all, let's be open and let's take on the material and defend it with academic rigor.